Get cracking. Pep Talk UK, Pro Beez at the media workout for Kell, Brook and Kid Galahad. And I'm delighted to be joined by the trainer of both fighters in London,
London.
brushing up on his Cockney,
London, bruv.
Dominic Ingle.
How you doing? Okay?
I'm doing well, geezer. I'm doing well, geezer. How are you adapting to London life?
You know what? I've probably spent more time in London in the last 2 years than I have in my whole career. Coming down here on the train, easiest way to travel, getting to know the tube system, getting around. Before I'd never go on tubes, I'd always drive, and I used to think it's a pain driving around London. But you get on the tube system, it's easy work.
So February the 8th is the big date in the calendar. Both fighters on the bill. Kell, Brook, some people are saying if he loses this one, it's curtains. Kid Galahad wants redemption. It's going to be a very busy year ahead.
Yeah, you know, Eddie's done great with his own. He's had a good 12 months in boxing. His boxing's going to different levels now. Opportunities are coming for people who probably would never have got them. And every fight, if you get beat, you know, Kell Brook, if he doesn't look good in the next fight or gets beat, it's his time to call it a day. He's coming up for 34. He didn't look too good last time out. But that can be down to a number of factors. We'll see on the 8th whether he's got anything left where he can push himself through 2020. From what I've seen in the gym, he's been sparring young guys, young ambitious guys, fast, good timing, good reflexes, and he's handling it. And that's what you've got to do. That's how you've got to measure yourself. It's no good sparring against some kid your own age or just a few years younger. You've got to be sparring against kids who've got ambition, who are going to come and make a name for yourself. And he's managing to keep on top of those and control them without having to try and beat them up. And, you know, so all the signs are looking good. But on the night, when he's making weight the week before, in front of the Sheffield crowd, who knows? He didn't look too good last time out, and that's what you're trying to get, but you're trying to not to happen. You don't want that to happen again. So, you know, his career depends on the performance in February.
Do you think Kell Brook's been affected by the whole 147, 154 pounds, fluctuating between the two weights? The Amir Khan situation has dragged on for years. Has it just kind of left him all in limbo?
Yeah, you know, he can, look, he's 4 weeks away from this fight. He's the weight he normally is when he's fighting at 147, now making 11 stone. So he can make 147. I've said this numerous times. You know, he used to kill himself to make 147, and he could do it because he had the ambition and the motivation. And then you get 24 hours to 30 hours to rehydrate, refuel. You can do that. After the age of 30, it's not as effective. Making the weight, then refueling and rehydrating, it takes, you leave something behind. I've seen it with fighters, Junior Witter, Johnny Nelson, when they got past that age. And that's the danger of making the lighter weight when you're past 30. You know, no matter how good you are. So that's where you're going to be careful. That's why you don't know. You can make the weight. That's not a problem. It's what he looks like when he's made the weight and gets back in the ring. That's where the issue is. His last fight was made, I think, at 154, but he came in 4 pounds light. Zerafa came in just under the weight. Kell gave him a massive weight difference. And for every pound you lose in body weight, it affects your performance by a certain percent. And that night, he had, and coupled with the wrong game plan, he wasn't the best, but he got through it in front of his own crowd. He got through it. And I think if that had been anywhere else in the world, he'd look around and thought, sod this. But he dragged his soul through it and he got the win.
In fairness, a lot of people were critical of his performance against Zerafa. Having said that, Zerafa's performance against Jeff Horn afterwards made the win a lot more creditable.
Yeah, he did. I mean, the credibility, you know, Zerafa, but you know, Jeff Horn, he had that win against Manny Pacquiao really well. But like I said, Kell Brook, for me, I looked at Zerafa, and for me, it was a 6-round fight, done properly. Not criticising anybody, sometimes you just don't get it right. And, you know, it's like driving your car. I drive a Vauxhall every day. You know, there and back, I know exactly how it runs. Put me in a blooming supercar, I'm going to crash it.
What was the range?
Nah, no chance. So, you know, it's about knowing how to drive the car that you've got and steer. You know, Kell's a high-performance athlete, and you can't be just putting any Tom, Dick and Harry in control of that. You've got to know how to handle it, and that's what it's all about. And you can get it so wrong in the few days before a fight, and I think that's what actually happened. He came in a bit too light. He came in with the wrong game plan. He overlooked the guy, and that contributed to a hard night's work. But he won the fight. He could have won it a lot easier. Could have made an easier job.
We've seen Jamel Charlo, Lions only, become a 2-time world champion at super welterweight. How does Kell Brook, how does he get on against Jamel Charlo?
I'll have to have a look. I watched him, you know, Charlo's, they're both good fighters. You know, you have to pay him very close attention. And then, when Kell gets through this fight, I'll have a look at that and we'll have a look. They're ambitious, they can fight. He did a great job in his last fight. Dennis Hogan, was it? Was it Dennis Hogan?
Tony Harrison.
Tony Harrison, and obviously, his brother boxed Hogan before that. So yeah, Tony Harrison, and who got the points win last time, and then he went out and demolished him second time round. Fair play. That's what you need to do. And maybe Harrison shouldn't have won in the first place. Maybe Charlo overlooked him. It happens. So yeah, both good fighters. Both, the killers they are. You've got to be careful. So I'll look at the age difference. I'll look at the past performance. I'll analyse the fights and see if that's a route you want to go. Because listen, you can't beat youth no matter what. If you got a good young guy and a good old guy, the good young guy's gonna win. He's got the engine. He's got the ambition. He wants to get where he needs to be. There's very few fighters who can. Mayweather's an exception. Knows how to slow the pace down. I mean, you look at the job that Mayweather did on Canelo. Do you know what I mean? Made him look like he'd never boxed in his life. And that's what you got to look at. And Canelo's looked fantastic since then, but he will always struggle against the styles of the Mayweathers, if they will, because Mayweather knows how to slow a fighter down. Everything he knows how to do it all. And if you're that type of fighter, which Kell Brook isn't, you're going to beat the Charlos and everything else, But Kell's not that fighter, so you have to be careful where you're matching him. The last thing you want is anything bad happening to a fighter past the age of 30 who's getting a bit too brave for his own good, and the people around him are supposed to be protecting him, sticking him for one last payday. It's got to be a fight he's got a chance of winning for me, and we'll see, like I say, on February, after over a year out, what Kell Brook actually has got left.
I mentioned Amir Khan. Is that totally dead in the water?
Look, same, it's like Amir Khan. It's like one of them old girlfriends you had 20 years ago who phoned you up or contacts you on social media, and you're looking, you just think, why were I ever bothered? Do you know what I mean? And that's what Amir Khan is. You tell me, you follow boxing probably more than I do, and it's just getting a bit beyond a joke now, isn't it? I think he's been round everybody. If he doesn't get anything, I think he'll find out he's got to fight. He'll make a choice of retiring or fight Kell Brook. And if I was out there as one of these top guys, I won't fight Amir Khan. I think he's been around enough now. He's got done in by enough people that really he should just settle and fight Kell, and let's see who's gonna come out on top.
Just to conclude, Kid Galahad is on the road to redemption. IBF eliminator. Long-term vision to get that rematch with Josh Warrington. How focused is he for that rematch?
He's always focused. He's focused every fight he has. Since getting beat in the summer, he's not been off it. He's not gone off the rails. He's trained. Just, back in the gym the next day, actually. Got out of the hotel, went on a running machine, did a run, trained for weeks after that, detrained himself, got it out of his system, carried on, refocused. And he's been on it since, and it's just waiting for this. There could have been other fights in the meantime, but we were, lobbying the IBF to get this rematch with Warrington, and instead they gave us a final eliminator, which is, better than expected. So we got that. Still in a tough fight. It's not a foregone conclusion. Moreira is a tough kid. He can punch. He's a southpaw. He's well seasoned. It's not an easy fight by any standard. So we're not in the clear yet for Warrington. If we get through this one, then hopefully get Warrington. If he gets through with Stevenson, if that fight happens, so we'll see.
How would you rate Josh Warrington's chances against Stevenson if that happens?
Stevenson's good. Whether he's got the experience or been at that level, Warrington's been in tough fights. He knows he'll have a fight, he'll have a scrap. He doesn't mind getting hit. He's been in with the Frampton, Selby's, Galahad. He's got through those fights. Fighters can look $1 million when they're fighting and winning, but when they come up against seasoned performers, that can be a different, kettle of fish. Look at Josh Taylor against Progress.
Excellent fight.
Fantastic fight, and it was touch and go back and forward, and Progress tried every trick in the book, but Taylor stuck to his plans and got through, and it was a tough, grueling fight. And that's, they were building Progress up. He beat Flanagan, I think, so there was a lot expected of him, and I think, on home ground, Warrington has got a chance of pipping him at the post. So we'll see.
Josh Warrington, Kid Galahad, do you still feel like you were hard done by?
Look, you can, whether you were hard done by it. For me, Galahad won the fight 8-4 or 7-5. Warrington threw a lot of shots, not a lot connected. There's lots of people who watch a lot more boxing than I do. I train fighters to beat fighters. I watch what I need to watch. There's kids out there, fans, anoraks who analyse and study and, you know, score every point. We'll probably have a bit of rundown. I just see how I see fights, and I think Galahad won that night. There'll be other people who've got a different opinion. There were some judges who got a different... They couldn't make their minds up. It was a split decision. The scoring was all over the place. Some of the rounds, one judge was clearly scoring to Galahad. They were giving to Warrington, so it was all over. It wasn't uniform scoring. I've got the scorecard. If you look at the scoring, it's all over the place. So, and that's based on 3 different people's perspective how they're seeing the fight. So he was a champion. He got the decision. He knows in the back of his mind. He knows that he wasn't convinced with that win. He won't have apart from the paycheck and walking away with the belt, he'll have gone home and thought, you know what, I got mugged off in that fight. And the guy, after the big wins against Frampton and Selby, little Barry from Winkerbank, as he called him, actually gave him the fight of his life and actually had him in a position where he was actually worried at the end of the fight whether he was going to get it or not. So we'll get a chance. Again, retribution will come somewhere down the line, hopefully. And if Warrington is that good, he'll beat Barry again. But until that happens, we'll have to just, you know, bite his lips and wait for the time to come.
Is it a case of taking the decision out of the hands of the judges? I mean, we saw with Ryder versus Callum Smith. I mean, a lot of people actually debate Kids fight and Callum Smith versus Ryder. Is it a case of the challenger literally doing a bit more?
The phrase taking the decision out of the judges' hands says that you've got to knock out Josh Warrington or whatever. Now, look, Galahad isn't the biggest puncher in the world, and Josh Warrington is a very, very tough fighter. Never been stopped, never looked like being stopped. So if any trainer decides that they're going to take the decision out of the judges' hands and try and stop something like Josh Warrington, it's the wrong game plan. It's the wrong game plan because you're not going to stop Josh. He's tough. Do you understand? He's tough. So you're not a good trainer if you think that. You've got to have a smart game plan. You've got to score, throw a few more shots, do something a little different. But the plan would not be to knock him out because he's not going to get knocked out. He's never been knocked out. I don't think even as an amateur he's been knocked out. So if he's never been knocked out in all his boxing career and stopped, and I ain't even looked at his amateur record, but I can probably guarantee he's never been stopped in his life. Do you understand? So he's not liable to get stopped, is he? Do you know what I mean? He's not chinny. He's a tough kid. You know, he's one of them scruffs off a council estate in Leeds. That's where he is. He's tough. He's been dragged up. So he knows how to survive, doesn't he? He's a scrapper. So that's the wrong game plan.